Hey guys, Ben Lee here. I'm here with Angie, CEO and founder of Shade Room. One of the most fun projects we've worked on this year with building her app experience.
Hey!
Check it out, Shade Room. She's got one of the most viral Instagram accounts on the internet with over 12 million community strong and growing. And we can't wait to help her launch her app.
So Angie, super excited. You're a client. I also learned you're a little bit, we got a lot in common. We're both 30 under 30 CEOs. We both went to LMU. So I learned that this morning.
Oh, you went to LMU?
Oh
my God. I love Lions.
Right.
Yes.
Love here.
Yes. You know what? Like, I love lions. It's just something special about a lion. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. LMU breeds like...
It's a good culture. It's a great school. And you're the queen of Instagram. You're the queen of, I can't even imagine how many celebrities got to be like frightened of Shade.
You know what? I mean, I really feel like, you know, people ask me like, do you feel scared like when you go out to these events in Hollywood, like with the celebrities? And honestly, they don't really take it personal because it's the people.
Right.
And what we kind of reflect what the people think. And so they are like, oh, hey, the people said this and this is what they think. So you can't really change it. And so they have a...
So we'll talk about the roommates, the gossip, we'll talk about all that in a bit. But I think to start, you know, how we met was a really interesting story. You know, we build a lot of apps, a lot of celebrity apps, entertainment apps, a lot of apps we should be building because, you know, it's kind of a trendy thing now where everybody wants an app. But you came into our lives because you had your minimum viable product, which was Instagram. And you went viral on Instagram like extremely fast. So yeah, can you tell me a little bit about just how you guys went viral initially and how you continue to?
Well, I mean, at the time, websites were struggling to figure out their relationship to social media. People were not going to www as often for like news and entertainment. And they were getting their news from like social media. I mean, if you think about how you got your news, your friend probably showed you something on social media or tagged you in something. And so that's kind of what happened. And at the time, I didn't know how to create a website. So my lack of knowledge in knowing how to create a website worked in my favor because I just started to publish directly to Instagram, and then I gave the readers what they wanted, news within their news feed, where like they go there. Mind you, I'm utilizing social media's audience. They go there 10 times a day. You know what I mean, on Facebook.
You're not reinventing the wheel. You're delivering content in a medium they're familiar with.
And I'm using their platforms to my advantage. And so that's kind of what happened. And so after the first week, we had 10,000 followers. And then from there, it just kept growing. And even now, when we look at just Instagram, we built other platforms. But when we look at the Instagram platform, we get over 600 million impressions per week. You know what I mean? So it's you know, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, and that's like the true bootstrapped story. I mean, that's another thing we have in common is, you know, I've grown 3 companies in the last 6 years without any VC funding. I don't really want VC funding, and I imagine you don't either because you like being in control and not having to go to a board and ask them for more money and do all that, right?
I mean, it's interesting that you said, so what, I mean, so do you feel like the reason why you don't want VC funding is because of the control, or do you feel like it changes your mission when it comes to like what?
A combination of both.
Yeah.
It restricts you from an innovation standpoint. You can't do certain things because you got to get approvals.
Yes.
And you create bureaucracy within an organization that, you know, shouldn't be there as a startup. And I've worked with you enough, and I've worked with your team enough. And they say, okay, Angie wants this, we got to go deliver that. Nobody's going to a board and asking, you know, oh, let's get approval because you know. That's a big thing for me. The other is too many startups use the funding milestones as this measuring stick. They're like, oh, we're successful because we got 10 million, but we don't even know what to do with it. Meanwhile, you run a profitable business. I run a profitable business. Those still exist. But people forget about that.
I mean, when you look at a lot of the unicorns now, you know what I mean, and you see that, and there's so much, you know, investment put into it before they're really able to really understand the business. Like when you look at like Groupon, Uber. You would say Uber is
Uber's burning a lot of cash,
but you wouldn't say that they have the potential. I mean, because Uber, I mean,
they're losing a lot of market share. We might have to have another fireside later about Uber, but I got some thoughts there. But you know, you're absolutely right that they keep raising more and more and more and more money, and we don't ask ourselves why are they doing that.
Exactly.
And you know, you've been able to achieve all this success. Have you taken outside capital?
You know what? We took one non-traditional VC funding, and basically I still have 100%, you know, ownership of the company. I only give them 7% if we sell, and it was a small amount, and it's like, you know.
So it's like a change in control bonus. You don't have to deal with stock and equity and all that. No. It's the best way.
Yeah, and
you've got good advisors, I imagine.
Well, and that's the funny thing, because if I didn't have him come on early on in the business, I would have taken a lot of funding,
right?
Because I myself believe that was the way that a business can succeed, and so he came on and said, "Don't take any more money." You know, I'm glad I found you, but
it becomes an addiction too for these startups where they're like, we need more, we need more, let's go back out.
Let's expand, and let's do things that are necessary. You know, I just got an office downtown because it just became necessary.
Right.
You know, even though we've been out for 3 years, we were virtual, you know, able to do things virtually, and until the necessity came that we needed an office downtown, that's when I got it. So you know, I'm staying lean until, you know.
And where did you learn to be so resourceful?
It was the first investor that I had.
Okay.
You know, he, like I said, you know, it's so funny how life works, but he came along and he kind of opened my eyes, and he helped me to be in the room with, like, I met with the CEO of BuzzFeed, and you know, like all of these companies, and I was able to pick their brains, and you know what I mean, and hear what their lessons were after they took money, you know, and after they did these things, and so I was able to just learn, and that's kind of how I did it.
Amazing. So you take this journey to Instagram first. Are you guys omnichannel or omnipresent rather, in that you've got Snapchat presence, you've got pretty much presence all around?
Yes.
12 million strong, right?
Right. And I think that where we are strong in is that even if a new social media platform were to come, you know, which that would be so, you know, I mean, Instagram and Facebook are going to be around for I don't know how long, but a long time.
Sure.
But even if a new social media platform came, I think we built the brand to be able to go across all platforms. You know what I mean? Like
you'd be able to just kind of migrate user base to whatever that new platform is.
Exactly. But it's so important to have your own platform, which is why we came to build the app.
Yeah. No, and then again, I can't stress enough how many people build apps for the wrong reasons, or they don't.
Like, what's an example of a company that built an app?
You know, there's examples of a company that shouldn't build an app. You know, a simple game that can be played through Facebook Messenger. And they're like, we want to build a game for that. We want to build an app to stream music. Well, Spotify already exists. You know?
Right,
there's so many startups that we see that are constantly trying to reinvent the wheel, not leverage tools that are out there already.
Right.
And outgrow it. Your story is, hey, here's my V1, it's Instagram. When we outgrow it, we're going to go build an app and then own that platform. And then our users will go to the Shade Room app, or they'll continue to go to the Instagram feed, and they'll be able to get, you know, all that content there.
Right.
So that's a really inspiring story for entrepreneurs for sure. I want to get more into, you know, the weeds now of just how you guys operate, because it's pretty fascinating. The continued growth. You guys are constantly on the news in the forefront of developing these stories. Like, how do you do it? Like, what's your secret spy network like inside the Shade Room?
Well, you know what? It's so funny because we literally the whole time have copied social media.
Right.
I mean, we copy like I said, you don't reinvent the wheel. Facebook is the number one social media platform. Why? Because they get stories from their community, right? And they use those stories from their community to entertain their users, right? And so that's what we do. Our community is the roommates. You know, the roommates are our community, and there's millions of them, so they're all over the place. They have their cell phone now, and journalism no longer. You don't need you
don't need paparazzi.
I don't need paparazzi.
Anymore. You're getting all this user-generated content.
Exactly.
That becomes the content for your platforms.
Exactly, and
Wow.
not only is it leaner, and not that that's the
Scalable.
whole goal, but
Scalable.
it's scalable. We get exclusive content, and
Amazing.
they do it because they love the community, and so therefore we're everywhere at all times, and you know what I mean. They work for us, with us. This is their platform. They help us get, they'll do investigative work. We have to vet it, but they'll do investigative work on their own. Like, for instance, we had, when Beyonce, we broke her going into labor, and like on the exact day that she went into labor, and it was because we had a roommate who worked at UCLA, and saw her come in, you know what I mean? And so that's kind of how we get it. And we've built that community, which gives us an advantage over like a bigger company that is known for paying for these exclusives or having to send pay for, paparazzi pictures and things like that.
An Us Weekly deal or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. And then we also built a community where celebrities come and comment. They come in and comment. So they give us non-traditional exclusives because
I feel like you guys have really created this brand where there's no question that celebrities and influencers are probably a little scared of you, but they know you're a trustworthy source. You're not, you're not the Dirty or Perez Hilton or, whatever these other sites that sometimes are questionable, in terms of the content they produce, where you guys have really maintained a strong brand equity with your members, but also on the celebrity side where both engage, and you don't really see that often. Celebrities are, they're not happy with what TMZ, but they're just kind of like, they know it's out there. In your case, you've got both users, as you said, engaging. You've got the celebrities engaging, and then you've got the roommates, which are the foundation to Shade Room.
Yeah, I think it's about being balanced in the news. Like, we can post salacious stuff, but then at the same time we can post you giving back to the community. You doing something that nobody would have known. Like a waitress said, Tay Diggs tipped her $500, and nobody would have known it, but she sent it in, and she had the proof, and we were like, hey, Tay Diggs tipped you, this is awesome, go to his page, and they flooded him with comments like, and so they appreciate the balance in coverage.
So how many stories or characters, influencers, whatever you want to call them, have you incubated because of all the fame and virality you brought them?
Oh, you know what?
Too many to count?
It's too many to count. It's so funny.
What's your favorite one? I remember the Prison Bay thing was on Shade Room for so I know you guys made a lot of people famous, but what's your most famous one?
Oh, you know what? I really don't know, but I will say that I can't even think. It's been so many people that people would say that we've contributed to, but I will say that we wanted to try fashion. Okay. We wanted to try to see if we were truly influential, or how far our influence reached. And so we had a merch team. We were like, okay, let's, like the baseball caps, right? We said, let's call them dad hats, right? Now, when we went on the hashtag, there maybe were 150 posts that said dad hats, you know what I mean, on it.
So you're the creator of the dad hat as well.
Well, I don't know if we were the first ones to ever call it the dad hat, but at the time when we were wanting to brand it as dad hat, it wasn't a big, it was like I said, 150 posts in the hashtag. Nobody was calling it that, and I still have the post, which is amazing. So we put out an article, and we said, we took all of the pictures of the celebrities that wore these baseball caps, right? And we said dad hats. You know what I mean? This is the new thing, which everybody was wearing them, But it was we were let's brand them as dad hats, and everybody was like, dad hats? Those are baseball caps. Don't call them dad hats. What's that? Everybody always wants to change the name to something. Literally after that, we started coming out with dad hats, right? We're here. We introduce you to dad hats. Now this is where you can get them from, right? So this is what we're showing you. And after that, everybody calls it. Literally, it's called dad hats. You know what I mean? Kim K picked it up and started selling dad hats. Karuchi picked it up and started selling dad hats.
We're selling dad hats.
Yeah. And Elle Magazine was like, the Shade Room, does dad hat, calls it dad hats. And we were like, okay, we can influence fashion. So that's interesting, and so that's when we were able to really see the reach.
So that's when what's that feeling like when you actually kind of identify yourself or your brand as a real influencer, where you're influencing trends in fashion, in style and culture.
It's a feeling of responsibility. That's what it feels like.
Absolutely.
A feeling of responsibility not only maintain that influence, but to use it for good. You know what I mean? So that's kind of what it is, really. So.
And this is a random question, but do you have like a whole team of lawyers on speed dial?
Oh, you know what? I've had to, unfortunately. I have had to. Yeah, we've had some.
I imagine that you probably get.
Yeah.
I don't know, what do you mean? Hundreds of requests a day of saying, this needs to be taken down? Or...
No, not hundreds a day. And honestly, it's not that often that we do get it, but we do have. I mean, yeah, we have some stories that really got us into some trouble. So we have to. I mean, we definitely have to, watch out, be mindful. As we grow, we can't. There's certain things that we just don't touch anymore. And
is that kind of a decision you and your team make in terms of understanding legal ramifications or?
Yeah, well, I'll have my legal advisors and they'll say, listen, we know you guys want to be, number one, and we know you want to have all of the tea, but no. Unless if you want to keep running, there's
a hard no.
Exactly. Yeah, certain things you just cannot do. So yeah,
makes sense. Mm-hmm. So gearing up towards this app launch, and this to me, I don't know about how it feels to you, but sort of the next evolution of Shade Room, because now you're putting out a digital property you own. Whereas with Instagram, that's your brand, but you're restricted. You can't do certain things because it's owned by Instagram.
Exactly.
This is now yours, and you'll be able to do commerce and merch and anything you want, and create your own community within this property.
Right.
So what's the larger vision? What's the larger play?
The larger vision is to continue to follow the trends of the social media platform and the wheel that they've built, which is, now they're going into like scripted content, creative content, and then allowing their users to submit content and do like an ad share, right? And so for me, I was just at Facebook, I had a meeting with them, and one of the things that they mentioned, and if you know the Shade Room, you know that it's like Black media, you know what I mean? It's probably it's our audience is very diverse, but the content that we cover is like Black, mainly Black media, and so we were at Facebook, and they were like, one thing that's really interesting is that the Black users on Facebook watch the video tab more than any other group of people.
So they watched a single video?
The video tab. You know how like you'll go on Facebook and then the videos will roll up and you'll watch that? Like they watch that the most.
Wow.
And I was like, why is that? And then I started to think, well, maybe it's because they're looking for content that resonates with them.
Sure. And
they find that content on social media more often, than they would find on television, and even when I look at my audience, a lot of them don't watch TV, they're on their phone, like the social media is their television, basically their new TV. And so seeing that social media is their new TV, it would only make sense for television and social media to merge.
Are you guys on YouTube?
We are on YouTube, but I feel like I said, I feel like social media is the new TV, not necessarily YouTube.
Right.
Well, YouTube is doing good, they are doing good, but I think that if television were to merge with social media, right, imagine what that would be.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, imagine if me and you could sit here and we could watch a show and both comment, on the show. So that's kind of where, obviously we're starting with the app now, putting our content on the app. But when you're talking about the dream of where we want to be, eventually we want to create a community that can create content and like kind of create our own television, our own
commentary
on top of content, where it's 6:00 and me and you can sit down and talk about this show as we watch it live.
Can sort of be upvoted. The community can decide if this.
What are the best comments?
I
mean, could you imagine how funny a show would be if you had those comments scrolling up like this?
Yeah. No, I can see it. Yeah, and again, these are things that work with existing platforms like Facebook Live.
Yeah.
So Facebook Live already has this sort of tech.
Exactly, and that's why reinvent the wheel. This is something that is pushing Facebook to, great heights.
So that sounds like, it sounds like a really solid plan, and I'm sure you got a lot of VCs, a lot of people salivating on this plan, and then also your user base, because they see you growing and your trajectory, and they're like, I want a piece of that.
Yeah. But I have, and it's scary to not take it. It's
Right.
Obviously, right? It's scary to not take it, but I just believe in it so much that I'm like,
it's one of those things that you got to stick to your gut instincts with these types of things, And if you've got a good gut instinct, and that's clearly you've had a really good one for the past several years, being this successful, you'll make the right decisions. Who do you see as your main competitors, if you have any?
Oh, I do. I definitely have competitors.
WorldStar, are they a competitor?
Well, here's the thing about WorldStar. WorldStar is doing amazingly well. I would not necessarily call them our competitors because they are mainly a male audience.
Okay.
And then also on top of being a male audience, their audience is they come like for instance, when you see a WorldStar video, you probably stumbled upon it because someone shared it. You know what I mean? So their audience grows because of people are sharing it and stumbling upon their content. You know what I mean? Whereas our audience, they come every day back, to see the content. Because they're like, it's news. So they're like, okay, I'm coming here. This is my source for news and content, not just funny videos, but things that I can use and take back and talk about and have dialogue.
And you guys do such a great job with the narrative, the caption, and you tell a story. Like you said, you're watching the news every day. And you kind of have that consistency in your captions where I haven't seen that with a lot of other, whether they're competitors or not, with other feeds out there. They're kind of all over the place.
I don't know. I mean, obviously, if you're talking about people who are on a level, that are doing bigger things, you'll see Complex is doing big, but when it's top media sites, I would say Complex. Media Takeout, I mean, is still, in our space, one of the top ones. I would say we have competition but it doesn't look exactly the same.
Right.
It doesn't look exactly the same, but there is competition.
So when we were going through, road mapping process, building an app, it's one of those things where you want it all. You want all your features, and then it's kind of like you got to prioritize.
Yes.
What was that like for you? Because as an entrepreneur, we've got this vision in our head, and we may or may not be able to communicate it to our stakeholders or people around us. And we always want all the features. So hearing no, how did that make you feel as a product owner or CEO?
Well, it hurt me because I definitely wanted to have all of it, but then I realized that there's stages.
Exactly.
You don't want to put all of it in an app because that's too much. First of all, it's distracting, and then also you don't know what they're going to like, what's going to be necessary. And so I think that starting off this way was great. We have a lot of the features that we wanted, but starting off this way was great because now we're able to really see and test and and there's always exactly, and you can always revamp it, and so I think that let the user decide what they need, and then you can make adjustments.
So many entrepreneurs don't realize that software is this evolving process.
Yes,
it's why when you download, I don't know if Complex has an app or whatever app. You see version 2.25,
exactly,
whatever.
Yeah.
Because they're upgrading, they're updating, and they're adding new features based on community, based on data.
Right.
And as you said, you don't want to go out with all these features, spend all this money and scope, only to learn people are using 50% of what you put out.
Right.
Because that happens a lot.
Exactly. Or that it causes more, complications. Or,
and they're like, you know what? I want to go back to Instagram. It was easier for me.
Right. Exactly.
So I think this approach where we've taken, a very intuitive interface with Shade Room, it's something that people are familiar with other social media platforms. There's not going to be a steep learning curve with this app.
Yes.
It's something familiar. The buttons, the design, everything is familiar. I think that's such a critical piece to it.
Exactly. And it was clean. You guys did a good job.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
So rollout strategy. Are you allowed to talk about any big announcements, partnerships?
I don't want to
deals?
Because there's some things that need to be solidified,
Sure.
but it's definitely going to roll out, and it's going to be a very important app.
Cool.
So I'm excited about it because our audience has been saying get an app for the longest, and so now is the perfect time to really just roll it out. So I'm excited.
You must have a lot of DMs in that Instagram account.
We do. So I'm excited to get submissions through the app, but yeah, we do have a lot.
And that's obviously a major source of where you're getting your videos and tips and everything.
And we respond to every single DM.
Really?
Yes, and not just with like a heart or anything. Like we'll be like,
You guys
hey
take the
girl,
time.
you have to, because they go out of their day, out of their way in their day, to send you something.
And even one follower has that ability to create a viral effect.
Yeah, like it's been times where we have a fake page with no pictures, send in like the most interesting stuff, and we're like, whoa, this is a bombshell right here from just you literally, every follower is important and every message is important. And so at first they hated it. They were like, why do we have to do this? I'm like, because if you build a relationship with that person, you don't know how important that person can lead to 10 exclusives, you never know, or whatever. That person, they're all important. What they have to say is all
Absolutely.
important, so.
And what, how many, from a curation standpoint, responding to DMs, just overall management, how many people are behind the account?
Well, we have a managing editor that's behind the account, and then we have like 5 editors, under the managing editor. We have, like another 5 writers. They all write and contribute. The way that we operate the company is different from a lot of people. Like some people will have personalities over here and writers over here.
Right.
And models over here, whatever it is.
Right.
But we have our writers our writers double as our models for our merch and our personalities on the red carpet. They do,
Well,
and
they've got their own personal brand, it sounds like, that they're building.
And also it helps for the community because they first get to know them through writing. So that's how they all come, through writing, and then they actually have to write on the platform and and have the community understand them and know them. And
I think that's so cool because you are, as you said, you've got a responsibility as an influencer, and as you can fake so much on the gram.
Right.
And everyone's doing it. Most of these people aren't even managing the captions. I'm self-admittedly, I have 2 people managing my Instagram.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things where at what point should you be transparent? And you guys are really, you're telling, TSR staffer, you put in the captions, you go out of your way to be transparent about who is writing this content. I think that's so cool.
And they can go to your page when they're mad at you and talk to you directly.
Go throw some shade over that writer when you don't like it.
Or tell you they love you, they really get to know the writers and the people.
Have you ever had a writer have a nervous breakdown? It's because they got trolled or doxed so hard?
Yes. Yeah.
We've had that. We've seen that before.
Yeah.
The internet can be a cruel place.
Yeah, we've definitely had that, but I keep telling them
you gotta be strong.
You gotta be strong. Yeah. They'll write a piece that they really are passionate about, that's from the heart, and then people will say, "Oh, this piece," whatever they say, and they'll be like, "Oh my God," they'll take it to heart. I'm like, "Don't do it." Learn how to deal with criticism. Everybody has to, learn how to deal with criticism.